Hi everyone, welcome to another Winning with SketchUp video. Adam with you once again, and today we are going to have an exciting lesson on something interesting, a little bit outside of SketchUp, but very useful when it comes to rendering. And I'm going to show you how to kind of create a fake high dynamic range image from Google Earth. So we're going to take specifically the street view in Google Earth, and we're going to look at how to pull the street view out of Google Earth as a 360 degree spherical image, how to then convert that into a full range HDR, and then to use that for image-based lighting. So what I have here is a street view of Hawaii, and I got that off of, and you can see here, this is the Kohala Coast, Hawaii, and I just did a Google search for beautiful Google Street View locations, and there's a bunch here that you could follow along with any of these, and these will all take you to Google Street View. This would be a nice overcast HDR to use for your dome light, or depending on what render engine you're using, you can use it for IBL in Thea Render, use it as your environment map in something like Corona. So you can see all of the different images here. Some are better than others. You want to look for something with a decent range, I think. You know, something such as this, which is very washed out. This snow scene might not be the best, but looking through here, I'm going to use this Hawaii location here, and just want to look around, and we do have kind of the sun spot here. So this will be the main hot spot, which will light our image or light our 3D render. And it's just a beautiful scene in general, kind of gives you a nice little coastline here. So how do we get this out of Google Street View and out of the Google Maps here? We're going to use a little app and a website called streetviewdownload.eu, and I put this on the Winning with SketchUp Facebook page, and a link to this, so you can go and grab that here, or just type this in. And the way that this works is you want to, I'm going to close this here, and this is the default location that comes when you first open the website. You kind of get this little location here, and what we're going to do is click here, and we want to go to enter URL. So we'll go to enter URL, go back to our Google Maps, and we'll grab this URL here, we'll copy it, we'll come over here, and we'll paste it into here. We'll say OK, and there it is. It loaded it up here, and now we want to go to download 360. And what this is going to do is give you a download link for a small exe file. So it's a small little application, which is the downloader. And just so you know, I have kind of run this through an antivirus. I've run it through, I first opened it using Sandboxy to make sure it was isolated. I was a little skeptical, and so far I've done probably a half a dozen different ones, and I haven't had any issues. So I've kind of vetted it out for you and can vouch for it being a clean little app. So I've already downloaded the app, and I'll show you it here. So this is the one that I did previously of the default view, and now that we have the Hawaii location in here, what I need to do is I'm going to grab this link, copy it, and we're going to go back to our little app here, and I just want to paste that in here. So I'm going to make sure I select all and make sure that's deleted, and then paste that code in there. And you can actually do multiple ones and have it download multiple ones at the same time, but we're just going to do one here. And you want to select the location that you're going to save it to. You can adjust the resolution here, and you could probably get away with IBL lighting, image-based lighting, of going down to around 20. It'd be a lot faster for processing. I'm going to go with the full resolution, and then I'll probably resize it myself to kind of find a medium between these two here. So I'll go with 80 and just hit download, and I'm going to say cancel, and I just want to change the name here and make sure that and I'll just change it to this here. So I'll just copy that and go back to our little app here, paste that in as the name, and now I'll hit download, and that'll go through and download this file. Ends up being a really large file overall, and let me pull this up here. The original one that I was playing with, I actually resized it down. I think it was over 100 megabytes. This street view that I pulled up originally and converted into the HDRI. So I'm going to just go through the process and show you how I did that. And it says download is complete. So here's our image. I'll just pull this up in OpenView and take a look here. Do get some blurring here on the bottom. Looks like we have a little bit of a lens flare here, but you can see we can really zoom in on this, and there's a lot of really good detail in here. Not perfect, but we're just faking an HDR here, so you know this. You can find a lot of really good high quality HDRs that were really shot at multiple exposures and made and aren't fake and made the proper way. Where this would really come in handy is not necessarily on a scene like this, but if you could find the street view for a specific location. Let's say we were designing something in this particular location. Looks like maybe a hotel here. If we were doing a renovation, and we could actually grab the street view, convert that into and actually light our image with the location where the design is happening. That's where it really comes in handy, and it's a powerful little thing here. So alright, we have this here. I can look at the size that this came in, 13,300 by 6,600 pixels roughly. So I'm not going to resize here. I'm going to resize this over in Photoshop because the compression seems to be a little bit better in Photoshop than OpenView seems to really do some good compression as far as the file size, but it messes up a little bit the image. So we have it here. What we want to do now is just jump over into Photoshop, and I'm going to open the image, and we'll bring that in. And I'm going to first just resize it. So we're going to go to image size and make sure this is locked here. Let's go down to I'm going to say around 9,000 or so. And that normally I would probably leave it at the size it was, but I just want to speed up the processing here for the video. So I'm just going to resize this a little bit, and there we go. And what I'll do is save that. I'm just going to overwrite the original. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go to adjustment, go to exposure, and we're going to make a low end exposure here. So we're going to go to -2, say OK, and there's our low end, and we want to go to save as, and we're just going to say EV -2. We'll save that, and this is a PNG. It's best to work with PNG here, and what I'm going to do is let this finish saving out, and then I'm just going to go and step backwards and go back to where we were, and now I'm going to go adjustment, exposure, we're going to go +2. So you can also do this in 4 steps, where you would go -1, -2, and then the original is 0, and then you'd go +1, +2. Give you a little bit broader range in the fake HDR, but we're just going to, for example here, just kind of go with a pretty big -2 and +2. So I'm going to say OK, go to File, go to Save As, and we're just going to go here and just going to go EV +2 and save that. And let that go through and save. And now we're going to use Photoshop to combine those 3 exposures into a single 32-bit image. And again, it's not you're not going to get the full range like you would if you were actually out shooting at multiple exposures and combining them, but to be able to kind of grab a location off of the internet and create a fake HDRI, then really can come in handy. So let's just close this. We have what we need. I'm going to say no, and now I'm going to go to File. We're going to go to Automate. We're going to go down to Merge to HDR Pro. And what we'll do here is just browse for our 3 images that we created. And this could be 5 images as well if you did the +1 and -1 in the middle there. But I find that you don't really need to do that. And just say OK. If everything went properly, it will go through and start the prep work, load all 3 images, and then it's going to open up the HDR Creator dialog. Give it a second here. And what the dialog is going to allow us to do is to tell it what exposures each image is, and then it'll go through and merge them together. So we're at image 1. See, we have image 2, image 3. Image 1, we're going to go to EV0. I'm going to go to image 2, EV -1, and image, -2 here. And then image 3 will go just +2. And we can see we have 0, -2, +2. And we're just going to say OK. And that went through and combined them into our HDR image here. And you have a couple options. If you wanted to stay in 16-bit, you could go through and have some options here to play with the exposure, the saturation, and tweak that. We're going to go to 32-bit, and 16 would work as well. And you have an option here to complete the toning over in Adobe Camera Raw, so it'll load that filter, which is, if you're running the new Photoshop, it's a lot like Lightroom, and you can go ahead and do the majority of what you can do in Lightroom. Tone map the image. I'm going to skip that for now. We could play with this slider and just kind of take this to where we want it. And I'm going to kind of take it to our bright point here, and then just go a little bit to the right of it, and just keep it there. I'm just going to say OK. Again, if you wanted to tone this in Adobe Camera Raw, you could, but I'm going to turn that off. And you'd probably want to if you were going to use this on specific, maybe it's something like product rendering. You really want to control the saturation of the image and the color cast that you're getting in the scene. You'd want to go and tone map that a lot more. But just for the example here, we're just going to go ahead and load this through. And it's going to come in looking pretty dark. I'm just going to save this out. And we're going to save this to an HDR here. So paste that in as our HDR. Do .hdr and hit save. And we can see our image here. So now what we have our HDR, so we have our lighting that we can use in our scene, and I'm just going to jump over. I have a scene set up here in 3ds Max, and I'm just going to drop the lighting in here, which is typically where I do my rendering, but I know a lot of you guys do things over in Sketchup and V-Ray for Sketchup and Thea, but I'm just going to show this quick as an example. I'm going to go ahead and load what we've just created here. So this is the Kohala Coast HDR, and go ahead and load that over into Corona Render, and that's already set up. So just really quickly, I'm going to pull up the interactive view here, and we can see switch to this camera, and now if I rotate around here, you can see the lighting that we're getting in the scene, and I can go and adjust the lighting by playing with the RGB level down here. But it's not perfect. Again, it's a faked HDRI. You're going to definitely find better HDRIs out there for even free on the internet, but for the purpose of the tutorial and finding an exact location and being able to create an HDRI from your office without ever having to go there is pretty cool. So let me switch this back here, and I'm just going to jump over into SketchUp, and I just happen to have a scene here that I'm working on pricing for someone, and I'm just going to go, and I have Thea render here. I'm going to go and grab that image and bring that into Thea render just so we can, I don't have the demo of V-Ray here anymore, so let me just load that up, and we can just take a look really quick at how this would look over in SketchUp as well. And Thea's really good for that because we can just use the whole viewport here. So that's pretty cool. And we're getting a really decent range on that as well. And over in Thea, we could, if we bump the intensity up here, probably don't want to go that high, but let's do 1.3, something like that. You're going to see that it'll really, we have, that range in there because we can go up to those exposures that we've set in Photoshop. And let's go up to 2 here and see how that really brightened up, and just kind of line up our sun here with, we can rotate the HDRI and bring the sun around to this side. And let me just tweak the sun itself. And you can see there, looks pretty good. It looks convincing. There are some issues in the HDR itself. It's a little artifacts, I guess, from just Google Street View and doing what it's doing. It's not a perfect image, but you also can go in and tweak your image as well. So we could go back to Photoshop here, and let me just stop this render here. So I'm on my laptop and don't have unlimited power, but we had that lens flare there and things like that. So we could go in and I could just draw around a selection window around, and we could fill that with content aware, and that would go ahead and get rid of that. And we could adjust our scene in little ways like that. We could still have the option to take this in to Adobe Camera Raw and adjust it that way. You could also use, one of the free plugins from the Neat tools that are free for Photoshop that do a really cool job. So, but anyway, I hope that was helpful, and we're able to learn how to bring in these street view images and actually turn them into HDRs to use for our 3D projects. So just to end this off, I'm just going to save over top of this here without the lens flare, and go back over into Sketchup here, and go ahead and let Thea do its thing again. So that's pretty darn cool. And you can always use the what we've created for the HDRs as only lighting, and then obviously use a different backplate image for the background to get rid of some of the blurriness that you do have in these images, but they work really cool for the lighting. So, alright, I hope that was helpful. Everybody have a good weekend, and we'll see you in the next video.